Alright, what's up everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today we're going to be recapping last night's playoff basketball. Some really interesting stuff going on last night, man. Some good games, performances, all the stuff. We're going to talk about it here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you do like the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, do all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Join the membership. If you want to learn more about the membership, there's a video on my channel explaining all of it. You can go back and watch that. Links to my Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that in the description down below. And yeah, don't want to waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So we are starting off with the first game. We have Bucks Pacers, our early playoff game. But wow, was this one of the best games we've gotten in the playoffs so far? We have so many good games in the playoffs. This one was one of the best. Game 3 in Indiana, 1-1 series. The Pacers win it in overtime, 121-118, thanks to a Tyrese Halliburton and one. They take a 2-1 series lead over Milwaukee. An amazing game. Back and forth game. The Pacers got off to an amazing start. Dame wasn't really shooting it. He also had a little injury scare, but fortunately he was able to come back. And then the Bucks just slowly kept cutting into the lead. The Pacers would look good, but they never blew the game open. Like it was always like 11, 12, 9. Like it was never just like a Pacers up by 20 at one point. And the Bucks just kept chipping away thanks to Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, kept chipping, chip away. Then we get to the fourth quarter and they outscore Indiana 28-21. Chris Middleton hits an amazing shot with 1 second left to tie the game. We saw to overtime. It's a back and forth overtime with Pacers dominating the glass, but never really being able to convert. Chris Middleton hits another big three-pointer to tie the game, but then Tyrese Halliburton comes down and hits it and one, and then Chris Middleton can't respond with another big shot, and the Pacers get the win. Yeah, very back and forth type of game. Again, a really, really good game. For Indiana, just they're look a lot more poised. Like they were doing really good on the rebound. They out rebounded Milwaukee 50-43, including 19 offensive rebounds. Like they had Tyrese had 5 offensive rebounds, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam had 4, Andrew Nemhard had 3. Like they were just dominating offensive glass, especially late in this game in overtime in the fourth quarter, and they got a lot of extra possessions. The ball was moving again. They had 32 assists, only 8 turnovers to the 32 assists. They hit 13 3-pointers. Like they played Indiana Pacers basketball. And the good thing about it is that they're gonna get up a lot of points. They're gonna get up a lot of shots. They're gonna have a lot of rebounding chances and stuff. But also the downside you saw in this game too is that sometimes they're not gonna fall. Sometimes the shots aren't gonna fall, and other teams are gonna be able to sneak back into the game. And that's what happened in this game as well. But Indiana showing amazing poise, playing in that fourth quarter overtime, even when Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Halliburton weren't shooting the ball super efficiently, they're still making plays, still trying to make plays. The others too, Andrew Nemhard has been huge in this series on both ends, guarding Damian Lillard and getting rebounds and hitting big shots. Miles Turner has been really aggressive in this series. Aaron Nesmith has made some big plays. He had a big shot late in that game as well. On the bench as well, Obi Toppin, T.J. McConnell, Ben Shepherd, all three of those guys have been making big plays in the last two games, on both ends. And Indiana sneaks out with the win, man. Tyrese finishes with 18, 10, and 16. Just absolutely dominating the game and had his big moment late in that fourth quarter, in that overtime. 29 for Miles Turner. The whole starting five scoring double figures. Pascal Siakam, 17 points, even though he shot just 7 for 17 from the field. The Bucks are actually doing a pretty solid job on Pascal Siakam. Every time he got the ball in the paint or every time he tried to drive, they're sending two at him, force everyone else to make a play. Andrew Nemhard, 16, 5, and 4. 13 for Aaron Nesmith, 15 for Obi Toppin off the bench. And yeah, and defensively, they were doing some solid things on Damian Lillard. They were blitzing Damian Lillard, never letting Damian Lillard get too comfortable. Dame eventually broke out, hit some shots. He finished with 28 points, but he shot just 6 for 20. The only thing was the fouls, really. They're just fouling him a lot. Andrew Nemhard had 5 fouls. Nesmith had 3 fouls. Yeah, but they've been really being really aggressive with Dame. You know, it's Andrew Nemhard to start. Andrew Nemhard's on him, even on dead ball everywhere. Andrew Nemhard's just on him. Blitzing Damian Lillard every time they get to the paint. Dame's trying to draw contact, and they do a good job of not fouling him. And then T.J. McConnell comes off the bench and does the same thing. Just being super physical and aggressive, and being on him on every second, and never letting him get comfortable. And that's what Indiana has kind of turned to the last two games. Been like, okay, you know what, Dame? Sure, we know you're good, but let's let everyone else. Go ahead. Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, you got to beat us. Indiana looks so much more confident on the offensive end as well. Man, from Milwaukee, Chris Middleton did everything he could, man. 42, 10, and 5. 16 for 29 shooting. Chris Middleton was amazing. It was one of his best games he's had, like in a long time. Like he had so many. I mean, he hit that three to send the game to overtime. He had a big shot to tie the game back up in overtime as well. Like he was just elite. Especially on a night where Damian Lillard was struggling. Bobby Portis was struggling to shoot from the field early on. And it was like the Bucks. The Bucks really were only in this game in the third and fourth because Chris Middleton. Every time the Bucks had, like, it looked like Indiana was going to take that big 15, 16 point lead, Chris Middleton came back and responded with a shot or two and made it 9, 8, and kept him in the game long enough. So in the fourth quarter, him and Damian Lillard and Bobby Portis started hitting their shots and things started to go better. So Chris Middleton, can't say much more of him. Tough, tough that you have to waste this game from him when you had 42, 10, and 5 and you lose. 28 for Dame, shot 6 for 20, 4 for 12 from 3. He was getting to the free throw line. But yeah, just Dame just never got comfortable. Andrew Nembhard, TJ McConnell, and them were just all on Dame every time, and just couldn't get comfortable. 17 and 18 for Bobby Portis, doing great in the rebounding, and had a little bit better offensively late in the game. But Bobby Portis, I think, has to be a lot better. So that's something I said in my last video talking about this game. I was talking about game 3 in the series for Indiana Milwaukee. It was saying I think Bobby Portis has to establish himself, and Bobby Portis has to have a big game in this series. Dame, it looks like now he's gonna be getting pressed the entire game. You got Chris Middleton, but I think if Bobby Portis can have a big 20, 25 point game or something like that, I think that would be huge for Milwaukee. I think Bobby Portis has to get going. 14 for Brook Lopez, he was solid, especially in the first half. You know, the bench just hasn't really provided much for Milwaukee. Malik Beasley only played 6 minutes. Jay Crowder only played 2 minutes. Pat Connaughton in 13 minutes didn't really do much. The only person that really impacted the game was Andre Jackson. In the first half, when the Pacers were up 17 and things were not looking great, Dame was out with injury and stuff. Andre Jackson came in and changed the game with his energy and defense. The stat line doesn't look like anything. Stat line, he had 2 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal. But he changed the game with energy. He had a putback dunk for his points. Rebounding was really nice defensively on Tyrese Halliburton and stuff. Bring energy there, bring toughness on the defensive end. He was really doing stuff, and I think he deserves more minutes over Jay Crowder, over Malik Beasley, over Pat Connaughton. He deserves those minutes because at least he's gonna come in and bring energy. Even though he might not do anything statistically, he's gonna bring a toughness and a certain physicality and energy to this Bucks team that they desperately need. To match Indiana. So Andre Jackson, I think, definitely needs to play more minutes in this series. But yeah, Milwaukee, again, I think they need Bobby Portis to get going. And they just need, I don't even know, like, their defense wasn't bad today, especially on Pascal Siakam. But I feel like offensively sometimes they get kind of stagnant a little bit, and it just turns to like, all right, give Dame the ball and hope that he makes a tough three. And it's Damian Lillard. He's gonna make tough threes sometimes, but it's just like they can't rely on that, And it also sucks when your bench is going what? Their bench went 2 for 7 today and 0 for 5 from three, on a 0 for 4 from three, and had 6 points. While Ben Shepherd himself hit a three and had 6 points for Indiana's bench. So yeah, Milwaukee just needs more. They need more, but this was an amazing game, going back and forth. Indiana's up 2-1. We'll see what happens for the rest of the series over there. But yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. Next, we're going Clippers Mavericks Game 3 in Dallas. The Mavs come out and win this one 101-90. They take a 2-1 series lead over the Clippers. It was Clippers early. James Harden was hitting a couple shots early. Zubac was getting it going a little bit. But then the second quarter determined this game just kind of like it did in Game 1, where the Mavericks had a horrible second quarter. The Clippers came out and rushed them, and the Clippers just could never come back. The Mavericks did a similar thing, not as dominant, but did a similar thing in Game 2, or in this game. I mean, they outscored the Clippers 36-18 in the second quarter, took a big lead. The big men for the Mavericks were dominant. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford in this game were big. Luka started hitting his shots. And for the Clippers, they just didn't really have it. We'll get to the third quarter. The Clippers had so many opportunities, it felt like, because they started to lock it a little bit on the defensive end. So many opportunities to come out and just make it a 4 point game or, cut into the lead. But they just could never do it on the offensive end. And the Mavericks come down and hit a couple shots. It got a little chippy as well late in this game. Some ejections and a lot of talk going back and forth. But ultimately, the Mavericks end up winning, and they take a 2-1 series lead. For Dallas, again, it was the big men. I think for the X factors for me. Derek Lively, 13 points, 6 for 8 from the field. On those 6 field goals, I think probably had at least 3 of them were dunks. Daniel Gafford, 8 points, 4 rebounds, 4 for 5 from the field. He also had 2 steals and 3 blocks. The big men were elite in this game, especially in that first half, where every time they tried to double Luka or came up on Luka, Luka just threw the lob. And the Clippers had bad communication on the defensive end, and it just led to lobs for Derek Lively, lobs for Daniel Gafford. And then, and PJ Washington, too. PJ Washington, he only had 10 points last night, only 5 for 10, didn't make a 3-pointer, but his activity was big, similar to Josh Green as well. Josh Green also had a pretty good game, even though the stats don't look anything crazy. But PJ Washington's activity on the defensive end, he was locked in and engaged, and on the offensive end, he made some shots that they really needed to. He also had the slow things with Terrence Mann and Russell Westbrook trying to stick up for Luka and Kyrie and them, becoming a fan favorite over there in Dallas. Like to see that, especially when he was in the Hornets, where they were garbage. So he's finally playing meaningful basketball for the first time in his career, and I like to see he's embracing that role. But yeah, Luka, 22, 10, and 9. Kyrie only had 21. He didn't really start popping off till like late third, early fourth. But first half he was kind of limited. But everyone else was doing their thing. Derrick Jones also had a good game with 11 points in this one. But yeah, the Mavericks have been kind of changing their identity. Usually the Mavericks are. You would think the Mavericks are going to be a team that's like, all right, we got Luka, Kyrie. We're going to come out and score 120, and we're just going to outscore you with Luka and Kyrie. Hope they can do it. But so far, these 3 games, well, more specifically the last 2 games that they've won, they've kind of changed their identity. They're becoming more of a defensive, gritty, kind of like muck the game up type of team. Like they've took a lot of pride in the defensive end. Of course, you got Gafford, Lively, Washington, Derrick Jones, Kleba. They're out there for their defense. But Luka and Kyrie as well. Luka and Kyrie have been locking in and more engaged in the defensive end more than I think we've ever seen, really, especially Luka Doncic the last couple games. He's been locked in the defensive end. Kyrie has not done a bad job either. And, I mean, you're saying it when they did get Gafford and Lively in the regular season, they became an amazing defense. But so far, these last 2 games, they've been locked in the defensive end. And they've kind of made that their identity of like, let's get stops, and then we're going to come out and transition and do our thing on offense. But if we prioritize defense and locking up, and getting stops in that way and taking pride over there, they'll do us a whole lot better. They've been doing it and they've been winning games like that. So just interesting to see the Mavericks kind of change their philosophy and change what we think they are. But it's been great to see. For the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George cannot play like this ever again. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George combined for 16 points. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined for 16 points in this game. 16. Derek Lively had 13 himself off the bench. Yeah. Kawhi only took 7 shots in this game. He took the same amount of shots as Russell Westbrook. Paul George, 3 for 11, 1 for 6 from 3, didn't get to the free throw line. 7, 5, and 5. Kawhi, 9, 9, and 2 with 4 turnovers. He was 4 for 7, didn't take a 3-pointer, 1 free throw. That can't happen ever again. That just can't happen. Kawhi maybe gets a tiny, 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 tiny bit of a pass because of the injuries, but he also wasn't really being aggressive. Paul George, Paul George, come on, man. You got to be better than this. 7, 5, and 5. That can't happen. Honestly, it kind of looked like they weren't ready to play when it got to the second quarter on. First quarter, they looked solid, especially James Harden, honestly, was saving them in the first quarter. James Harden had a good game in the first quarter, especially he had 21, 5 assists, 5 threes. Zubac had 19 points. But those two just never really had it all game. Those two came out and didn't have any aggression. It didn't look like they really cared. Like, they didn't even mind getting. Like, there was a point in the third quarter where I was like, wait, Paul George and Kawhi on this team? Like, especially start the third quarter, those two weren't even, like, looking to get the ball. And it was just like, well, what are you guys doing? You guys know who you are, right? You guys know you're Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You're 2 of the best wings in the NBA, right? You know that, right? So start playing like it. And it just never happened. And yeah, those two just had a struggle of the game. Honestly, the score was only 11 points, and the score was only this close because Norman Powell in the second half started hitting some shots. Norman Powell had 21 points. He had 4 threes. He started hitting some shots. But besides that, it was like Terrence Mann didn't score, or well, didn't hit a field goal. Russell Westbrook had a lot going on in this game. Ejected, flagrant foul, went 0 for 7, had 1 point. After that, after Norman Powell, the bench, I mean, Russell Westbrook 0 for 7, Amir Coffey 0 for 2, Misa Plumlee had 7 points, but, he didn't really play much because Zubac had 19 and 8. But yeah, the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George have to be Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, obviously, if they want to win. But just super disappointing game from the Clippers. They just look flat. Like they just didn't look like during the Mavericks run in the second quarter. You just watch the body. Like if you just watch the Clippers, like now you don't even look at the score. Don't even think. Just watch the Clippers on the court. It just didn't look good. Like they just didn't look ready to play. The communication, they weren't communicating on defense. Their heads were down after every score. They didn't look like they had a sense of urgency to go out and cut into this lead. Like, well, at least Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and maybe a little bit of James Harden. Like they just didn't look the part tonight, and that's not something that can happen in a playoff game. That's just something that can't happen. So the Clippers have to come out in Game 4 and look like they actually want to play basketball in order to even have a chance. Because the Mavericks have been locking in, and they still haven't had their big. The Mavericks still haven't had their big offensive pop game yet. Like this is the first time they scored 100 points in this series. Like the Mavericks haven't even had their big pop, and Lucas still only shot 28% from the field, and Kyrie didn't really pop off to the second quarter. They only shot 25% from three. So the Mavericks haven't even had their offensive game yet, which is even more scary for the Clippers that they're up 2-1 and they haven't even had really a good offensive game yet. So just interesting stuff. The Clippers have to be better than this. They have to be better. And the final game we had last night, Timberwolves Suns Game 3. The Timberwolves ended up winning this game 126 to 109 and take a 3-0 series lead, one game away from the sweep. Minnesota just outplayed Phoenix in this game. Like the first half, honestly, the script kind of went the same way it did in the first two games. Start out, Minnesota has a good start. Phoenix battles back a little bit in the second quarter and the second quarter. It's a close game at halftime. Minnesota's only up like 6 at halftime. It's a close game. We're like, okay, we're gonna come down to the wire. Minnesota's offense doesn't look amazing. Phoenix is starting to get a little more physical. They start to hit some shots, get a little bit of confidence. It's like okay, and then we get to the third quarter, and Minnesota just spanks them, and the Suns just lie down. That's then the script, and it happened again in Game 3. Anthony Edwards, just amazing. 36, 9, and 5, 12 for 23, 11 for 11 from the free throw line. His progression in this series alone has just been amazing. We had that Game 1 where he was just popping off and talking to Kevin Durant and had a superstar type moment. To Game 2 where he was struggling to shoot. He only shot 3 for 12 from the field, but he had 8 assists, was getting his teammates involved, was still making plays on the defensive end, didn't look like he cared that he was shooting bad. And then this game where he kind of put it together where he was scoring and he was facilitating and he was locked in the defense. He's just been amazing. He's rising into superstardom as we speak right now in this series. Like he has just been amazing. Some of the passes he was making in this game were just like, damn, man. Like, wow. Like there was one where he was like literally getting double teamed on like the white ring. Man, I cannot pronounce my R's and W's. The right wing, and there was like 3 on the shot clock, and he just went up and just launched it over to the corner for I want to say Nikhil or Mike Conley, one of those two, and I think they made. I don't know if they made or missed the three. It was just like an amazing pass. I was like, whoa, and he made those pass. And there was another one too. He was at top of the key. I think they just got an offensive rebound, and he like made the pass over to Mike Conley in the corner. Mike Conley wasn't even there yet, but he just knew Mike Conley was going to be there in that corner. And Mike Conley got it and knocked that down from 3. Like he just made so many passes. I was like, wow. Like if he could consistently do that, that's superstar right there. That's superstar. But yeah, the Timberwolves really the big X factor in the series has been the Timberwolves just have better role players than the Suns. Way better role players than the Suns. Rudy, 19 and 14. He has been amazing in this series on both ends. Call Anthony Towns, 18, 13. He struggled with foul trouble a little bit early in this game. Still, came out, played, rebounded the ball very well, and hit some big shots. Mike Conley, 15 and 7. He's been very, very good in the last 2 games. Nikhil, 16 points, 5 assists. He had 4 threes, 13 for Naz Reid. It was just everything was clicking, especially in that third quarter. Minnesota has just been locking in on the defensive end. The rebounding battle again, 50 to 28. Yeah, that's not gonna win you games. Minnesota just spanked them. And they're up 3-0. They're 1 win away from sailing on to the next round. For the Phoenix Suns, You're down 2-0. You're at home. You have a solid first half, and you just come out in the third quarter, and it's just like there's no sense of urgency. There's no fight in this team. There's no fight in this team. This team does not have any fight, no sense of urgency, no saying, okay, let's do this. They just don't. They don't have that. That's been something that's been the like shining in this series. Like one of the main things that we've seen about Phoenix this series is that they don't have any fight in them. Once they get down like 12, 13, basically call the game over. Because the last every game in the series, the third quarter, when Minnesota makes their run, they go up 13, 14. Phoenix just looks like, just watch the body language. They just look like it's over. They start missing defensive assignments. They start just doing whatever on offense. Kevin Durant just sits and, like, there's just no, they have no sense of urgency. And against especially a team like Minnesota that it's gonna out physical you and just has, a lot of fight in them. Defensively, they're gonna lock in, like, especially against a team like that. You're never gonna win if you don't have that. You're never gonna win. And just disappointed in the Suns. Really disappointed. Like, I picked Minnesota to win the series in 6. I wanted it to be competitive. I thought it was gonna be a tough series, but Phoenix, man, just can't find it. They just can't work together. Like, the end stats, Bradley Beal had 28, Kevin Durant had 25, Devin Booker had 23. That looks solid, but watching the game, it did not feel like that. A lot of their shots came when they were already down 15 in the fourth quarter, which is another thing. The Suns team is not a three-point shooting team. They're not a team that takes a lot of threes. Before the game, they're talking to Frank Vogel and stuff, and he said, he wants to emphasize, we got to take threes more. And they did that in the first quarter. They took like 9 in the first quarter. For the next 2 quarters, second and third quarter, they took 6. 6 3. Took 6 and made none. They went, they said this in the broadcast, they went 33 minutes without a three-pointer. 33 minutes. That's almost 3 full quarters without making a three-pointer. Really? Are we serious? And only taking, it's not like they went like over 13, over 4. They went over 6. 6 threes. And they did not start taking threes until there was like 7 minutes left. They were already down 17. And they're like, you know what we should do? We should start shooting threes. Oh, really? Oh, really? You think that you think so? Dang, I sound like a Suns fan right now. I'm not a Suns fan, but if I was, I would be so mad at this team. I would be very mad because, like, what are we doing? They didn't start taking threes till like 7 minutes left. They were already down 17, and they started making them. It's like, oh wow, crazy. When we shoot threes, we can make them and we can cut into the lead. Oh my gosh, it only took us 85 games to realize this. Like, are we serious? Like, yeah, it was just Kevin Durant. Again, I feel like in this game, second half, he just wasn't aggressive. He only took 18 shots in this game. Devin Booker only took 15 shots in this game. Bradley Beal took 19, but most of them were in the fourth quarter. Like, there's no sense of urgency. You're down 2-0. Your season is on the line right now. If you lose this game, no one has ever come back from down 3-0. If you lose this game, basically, the season's over. You're at home. You're down 2-0. Backs against the wall. You gotta fight. That's what Orlando did. Orlando did that. Orlando came out and beat the Cavs by 40. Like, the Sixers came out and did that. The Sixers, Joel Embiid put up 50. Why can't you do that? What's wrong? What is it? Like, there's no fight. There's no sense of urgency in this team, and not even just the big three, but the rest of the team is not good either. No Grayson Allen. Royce O'Neal did make a shot in 24 minutes. Houston Nurkic had 3 points and 7 rebounds. Like, they threw Josh Okogie came into the game in the fourth quarter because they just needed something. And he provides energy at least. He just can't do anything on offense, even though he did hit a 3-pointer. They are so like down bad. Bull got minutes in this game. Like actual minutes in the second quarter, and he had a dunk. And that's all he did. He had a dunk. But like it's a lot. I'm talking more when the Suns get eliminated. I'm gonna do my look-in video about the Suns. I'm gonna talk a whole lot more about them. But this is bad. This is just bad. And now They're one loss away from getting the brooms out, getting swept, and going home in the first round. Just tough. But shout out to Minnesota. I mean, they've been doing it. They look like an amazing team. My opinion of them has grown a whole lot in the series, even though I knew they were a good team. But just this series alone has just been like amazing for Minnesota, especially for Anthony Edwards, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Rudy Gobert, like just great stuff. But yeah, it's a weekend, full slate of playoff basketball for the next 2 days. My dream. um, and yeah, we're gonna see what happens the rest of the series, man. Some series might be over in the next couple games, man. It's crazy. We're already at this point. We're at game fours and about to be at elimination games. But yeah, it's gonna be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, if you enjoyed the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.